Thank you. It is so great to be here. I mean, now it's the third year, essentially, that we are gathering here in the Capital Region in celebration of International Women's Day. And that represents a dream. International Women's Day is a dream that many women have had over the years, that they've accomplished, that they've gathered together, that they've bonded together, and they've created. And as a result, we decided to give ourselves some credit, proclaim our day, and celebrate. And it's wonderful. And I'm so glad to be here celebrating in New York, something that we celebrated often when I was living in California, in Los Angeles. And I want to share a little bit about a dream that I had to hopefully inspire all of you who might be either sitting on a dream or in the process of a dream or in motion on your dream to take it to the next level. So I grew up in a very visionary family. I was very fortunate to grow up in Oswego, New York, and my parents were very influential, and my dad, some of you may know him, John T. Sullivan, and he ran for mayor back in 1998 when I was just entering middle school, which was the worst time to become the mayor's daughter. Whew. Just when you're trying to get your own identity. So what did I do? A couple of years later, I dyed my hair purple. You know, we gotta rebel. My dad still has all of his hair, even though he has 4 daughters. Only one had purple hair, so. But together, he and my mother were a dynamic duo, and they created something that, as well, some of you may know, a well-known festival to this day in upstate New York called Harborfest. And it is one of the largest festivals in upstate New York to this day. And the big cool shebang is they bring in the Grucci fireworks on the Saturday of the festival, and it's over Lake Ontario, and it's spectacular. So have you not been to that festival, come this year. It's always the third full weekend in July, and the fireworks happen on Saturday night, and it's a sight to see. And it's choreographed to music, so it's quite spectacular. So make a trip, and it's all free. It's all free. So that's the world I grew up in. So of course, as a young child, I knew very much what it was like to have parents that lived their dreams and their passions and had a community value piece to it. So I went to school in Ithaca College. I went to film school, trying to do something artsy with that purple hair of mine. And that led me to Los Angeles, where the dream capital of the world. And I got a job in music videos and television commercials, working freelance. Well, I actually got a job working at a company, and then 3 months later, I realized this is not where the celebrities are hanging out. I want to be hanging out with the celebrities. So I ended up quitting the job, of course, right when I got a new car, doubled my car payment, and then quit my job. The scariest place. And what ended up happening was I was committed to my dream. Right? I mean, already I followed a dream just by moving from little town of Oswego, Ithaca, and then all the way out to the big city of Los Angeles to pursue that dream of making a difference. Well, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to make a difference, but when I was that age, I didn't know how I was supposed to make that difference. But I knew I had it in me. I knew I had something bigger and better and more inspirational in me. So what happened was I went out there, I got involved in the music video and television commercial industry. It was pretty cool for a while. I got to hang out with Britney Spears and Metallica and Sarah McLachlan, and it was really, really cool, except it wasn't fulfilling my purpose. Who here knows that they have a calling bigger than what they're doing right now? Raise your hand, big and wide, tall hand.
I can't.
Okay. Who here would like to be fulfilling a dream bigger than themselves? Raise your hand. All right, a lot more. Well, I'm here to tell you it's absolutely possible. And really all it takes is a connection and a gathering like this. So I started to feel less than fulfilled in my big fancy music video career. And I realized I wasn't making a difference. And my heart started yearning for more. So what happened, like it does, as Benita mentioned, it's not like you wake up one day and you're like, this is what I'm doing. It kind of hits you over the head. You get fed up, you get tired, you get sick and tired. And one day I was standing in line at the grocery store, very benign day, buying groceries. You can't get more benign than that. And I'm looking at those magazines that accost you as you're checking out, the ones that are there to tell you you're not good enough, you're not pretty enough, you'll never amount to something, you better marry Brad Pitt if you want to be anything in the world. And I started to feel this big about myself. And I realized, wait a second, there's a lot of voices that go on in our head as women, as people in general. But at least that day, the voices started to take over and tell me I wasn't good enough. But then the one voice that I want to encourage all of you to listen to, which is the voice of the righteous babe. The righteous babe, listen to her. Maybe don't dye your hair purple, but listen to her. She's got something to say. She said, hold up, hold up, hold up. There's got to be a magazine out there that empowers women to love themselves, that empowers women to connect, that empowers women to connect on issues that are meaningful and that help us live our best instead of live in our smallness. So I looked high and low for that magazine. I couldn't find it anywhere. There was a lot of great magazines, but they were very niched. And I found yoga magazines and health magazines and every magazine under the sun. I even found Oprah magazine, which is a really amazing magazine. However, back in the day, she's improved it greatly. That magazine, you might read a really empowering article only to flip the page and be accosted by a diet ad, and then another diet ad. So it's still telling you you're not enough. So it took about 2 years of that journey. And I don't recommend waiting 2 years to follow the calling, that initial seed that tells you your purpose, that wants to put you on your path. Because what will happen, and I know this from my own personal experience as well as the work I do now is helping people live their dreams. If you know what you're meant to do and you ignore that voice, God, Spirit, Universe, whatever you call it, is going to step in on your behalf because it's always conspiring for your greatness. And it's going to step in on your behalf and it's going to force the issue. So don't let it force the issue because it's going to come in a package that's not always fun. Because if you don't listen to the whisper, you're going to get knocked on the head or kicked off the cliff. So it took me 2 years, and luckily I didn't end up with an illness or anything totally devastating. However, it still was an easy journey. Talk to me afterwards. We can go out for coffee. I can share the experience. It was not fun. I wish I had listened sooner. But I did listen eventually. And I realized that I was the one that I was waiting for. I needed that magazine for my own self-worth. I needed to know that there was something out there beyond me that was a voice for my greatness. Because we can't always be the voice for our own greatness. It's tough. We've got I won't say the word, we usually call it the itty-bitty committee in our minds, that they're constantly telling us we're not good enough. And what today, and any gathering of women represents to me, is yes, we have come so far. It is great to be a woman today. It's an amazing time to be a woman. We have achieved so much. We are so far along with leadership roles, wealth. We're the majority now, actually. But we're still not getting the rights that we seek. And as much as legislation and everything else is amazing, and I stand firmly behind it, I truly believe that the liberation of women in today's society is a liberation of within. It's a liberation of our mind. When we believe that we are enough, when we can tell ourselves that we're good enough, we're smart enough, and doggone it, people like me, we can do anything we set our hearts and minds to. But guess what? It's not about doing it alone. I'm looking at a lot of women, and I would guess, based on my own journey, that many of you are probably a little bit of a lone ranger where you think you gotta do a lot on your own. Just come on, fess up, raise your hands. Who's the lone rangers in the room? Or let's just say recovering lone rangers. Because it's not about doing it alone. It's not about doing it alone. It is about connecting and gathering. Women are called gatherers for a reason. And yet we are not gathering enough. It is our salvation. It is our strength. It is everything. So take these words in today as a gathering and think about when's the last time you had a meaningful gathering with other women. And this is meaningful. Wow, we are covering a lot of amazing topics today, and it's very meaningful. And let's take it to the next level and make an effort in our life to gather. So back to my dream. So I had this calling. I decided to listen. What did I do? I realized I was the one I was waiting for. I just didn't think I was smart enough to do it. I didn't think I had enough skills. What do I know about publishing a magazine? I had no idea. So what did I do? I gathered with women. I called together my posse. And I said, I've got this dream. I've got this idea. What do you think? And I was 8 women in the living room. I remember it like it was yesterday, even though it was, at least 10, 12 years ago now. We had a 2-sided chalkboard. We were having a good time. We had all the magazines out there. We were talking about what we didn't like, what we wanted to hear. And by the end of that gathering, not only was a magazine born, but a movement was born. A movement to connect and gather women in a meaningful setting to speak what challenges are up for us, to heal, to connect. Because as much as you look around this room, and there is such uniqueness and diversity right here in this very room, as women, we're very much the same. It's just like, we're all ice cream, we just have a different flavor, right? And everybody's got a different experience of that flavor. But at the core, our struggles are very similar. We're not that different. We're not that different. And just getting together makes a tremendous difference. So the magazine was born, the movement was born, my dream was being lived. It took me a little while to get that magazine into print and then to get it from just a little tiny 8-page newsletter to an 84-page glossy, awesome publication that could compete with the glamours, but be amazing and make you feel good when you read it. And then I got kind of knocked on the head with another calling. What I realized with my magazine is after 8 years of building it from the ground up is that I was kind of killing myself to get the message of self-love in the world. And I was preaching femininity from a very masculine model. Wasn't going to stick around for much longer. My body was depleted, my energy was depleted, my magazine, my business was depleting. So I made the difficult decision in May of 2010 to close the doors to the magazine and focus on the movement, focus on the gathering piece. And that's what led me back to upstate New York. I came back, my dad at the time was living in Troy, working for the state. And I came back and I was kind of licking my wounds. Who am I without this magazine? Because as women, many of you might even feel this way, we identify with what we do instead of who we are and what we do for people. And that's a big distinction. It's not about what you do. It's never about what you do. It's who you be. So when I was back licking my wounds and figuring out what's the next path to rebuild this business of mine, I realized that I talked to a lot of women in this region, and I realized that, wow, the work I had been doing in Los Angeles was very much needed in this area, and I didn't know that anybody was really doing that here, was really gathering women at the extreme urgency that women need to gather, because if we are not gathering, this world cannot be saved. It cannot be saved. Ladies, the world is counting on you. That's why there are more leaders than ever before that are women. What Joanne said about Kristen Gillibrand gathering women in the Senate. We get stuff done. We get it done. We get it done. Why? Because we care. Because we feel the pain in our body. So I said, really, universe? I gotta move back up to upstate New York? I swore I would never move back to the Northeast. I swore. But what you put your attention on will grow, so be careful of what you're putting your attention on, regardless of you don't want it or you do want it. Be very careful of your thoughts, because it will come to fruition. I got called back here. I said, all right, I'm not gonna wait 2 years and have the rug pulled out from underneath me this time. I say, yes. Can we be bi-coastal, maybe? Somewhat, but mostly I'm here. I got called back, and when I landed here, I realized I am not going to waste any time because winter is coming. I landed here in September of 2010, and I knew that the 100-year anniversary of International Women's Day was happening the following March. And that was another dream I had, was how can I rally in a new community, in a new area, not knowing anybody, not even knowing that there was a women's movement even happening here, although funny thing, it actually originated here, right? The original women's movement right here at Ground Zero. So we're in the perfect place right now to rev it back up. So I realized, you know what, doesn't matter. And what did I do? I gathered with women. I pulled women together. I said, I have a dream, much like Martin Luther King. I got a dream. I know you all have a dream. How can we make this dream work together? And sure enough, in less than 5 weeks, we pulled together 300 women in a room in Saratoga Springs for the first ever, we called it Saratoga Women's Fest, in celebration of 100 years of International Women's Day. Right? So that, of course, led me to many other amazing things and to focusing on helping people just like you achieve their dreams. And I want you to know that if I can do it, take me out, insert you. If I can do it, you can do it, right? We just have to believe. And I want to leave you with this one quote, and many of you probably have heard of it because it's a very, very, very popular quote. And funny enough, it was actually attributed to, oops, it disappeared. I'm going to have to get it back here. It was actually attributed to, so who here has heard of Marianne Williamson? Marianne Williamson? Okay. Okay, so not a lot of people have heard of Marianne Williamson. Well, this quote was actually given, for a while, it was credited to a man. It was actually credited to Nelson Mandela, but he quoted Marianne Williamson, which, funny enough, it was her quote. He got all the credit. But I'm here to tell you, Marianne Williamson, it's her quote. So I want you to just close your eyes for a moment and just feel into this quote. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, or fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine, as children do. We are born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It's not just in some of us, it's in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. So keep shining, everybody, and liberate yourselves. Thank you so much.